Okay, so it's 2 o'clock. And I'll just wait for the clerk to give the nod that we're live, and then I'll call the meeting to order.
We are live, Mayor Lowry.
Perfect. Thank you, Madam Clerk. So now that we're live, I will call the meeting to order, and I'm just verifying attendance with the clerk.
We have regrets from Councillor Holmes and Councillor Gerard.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm looking for a mover, and sorry, I'm jumping over item B. So there's no consideration of a closed session in this agenda. I'm looking for a mover and seconder for approval of the agenda.
Councillor Dalgety.
Thank you, Councillor Dalgety.
Councillor Maiden.
Thank you, Councillor Maiden. All then in favor of approving the agenda, starting with Councillor Dalgety, yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Ferguson?
Yes.
Councillor Maiden?
Yes.
And Deputy Mayor Manelli?
Yes.
Thank you. The agenda is approved. If you have a disclosure of a pecuniary interest or general nature thereof, you can make that statement at this time or when it arrives on the agenda. There are no delegations, deputations, or presentations, which brings us right to the public meeting. We have 2 items that we'll be looking at, or listening to, I should say, today. And with that, I will pass it to our planner 1, Ms. Maggie Yett, for the preamble.
Thank you, Mayor Lowry. The public meetings today are being heard by council, and notice has been given in accordance with the Planning Act. They are statutory public meetings for the purpose of giving the public the opportunity to make representations in respect to the proposed bylaw amendments. If a person or public body does not make oral submission at a public meeting or make written submissions to the municipality of Mississippi Mills before a bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of council to the local planning appeals tribunal and may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. If a person or public body provides an oral submission, the municipality asks that they clearly state their name for the record and that they leave their name and address on the appropriate notification sheet located on the table next to the council chamber entrance. As this is a virtual public meeting, there will be no oral submissions, but you may provide comments on the YouTube comments page and state your name and address when they are provided. Further, any person wishing to be advised of council's decision with respect to tonight's applications are requested to also leave their name and address. In general, applications heard at tonight's meeting will be forwarded to the next council meeting, granted that concerns or comments can be addressed in that time period. If not, an application may be forwarded to a later date.
Okay, thank you very much for the preamble. And this is just a reminder that this is, the public meetings are an opportunity for the public to give feedback and comments. Council is here to hear those comments, and we'll be discussing the issues themselves when it comes forward in a staff report at a future date. With that, we'll pass it back to Ms. Yett for the first report. Or the public meeting, pardon me, which is regarding zoning bylaw amendment Z-13-20, and this is Whitetail Ridge.
Thank you, Mayor Lowry. So the subject application is for Block 13 on Plan 27M-47 in Ramsey Ward in the municipality of Mississippi Mills. The owner of the development is Whitetail Ridge Development, care of Tomlinson Development Corporation, and the agent on this application is Xander Plan. The purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment is to rezone the lot from neighborhood commercial special exception, or C7-4, to rural residential special exception, or RR-4. This lot was originally intended for a corner store or neighborhood commercial use. However, it has become evident that commercial development in the subdivision is not supported economically or by adjacent residents. As a result, the developer is seeking to rezone the property to permit the construction of a single detached dwelling in accordance with the rural residential provisions, which apply to the rest of the subdivision. These lands are located in the Whitetail Ridge subdivision in Ramsey Ward, north of the Almont urban settlement boundary. They're approximately 2,340 square meters with lot frontage on Antler Court of 24.9 meters. And they were originally, as I mentioned before, envisioned as a commercial core within the subdivision and zoned to permit a wide range of commercial uses and a residential dwelling in the special exception zone. However, the lands were ultimately not developed. There is a context map on page 4 of the agenda as well. With regards to public comments, there have been none received as part of this application.
Thank you very much, Ms. Yett. Are there any comments from the YouTube channel, Madam Clerk?
No comments have been received at this time.
Okay, given that there are no comments, we'll move ahead to the second public meeting, which is F2. This is regarding an official plan amendment and a zoning bylaw amendment for Ottawa Street, 430 Ottawa Street. I'll pass it back to Ms. Yett.
Thank you, Mayor Lowry. So these amendments are known as OPA 26 and the zoning bylaw amendment as Z-12-20. The subject lands are concession 10, lot 16 being part 1 on registered plan, reference plan, 27R6990 being parts 1 to 4 and 9 to 12 on reference plan 27R-8445. The lands are located in Almont Ward and they are known as 430 Ottawa Street. The owner of the Almont Mall is 2241497 Ontario Limited, and the agent on this application is Novatech. So the purpose of the Community Official Plan Amendment is a site-specific amendment to the highway commercial policies to recognize medium to high density residential uses with a maximum net density of 46 units per hectare to permit a 124 unit 4-story apartment building. The Community Official Plan recognizes generally a maximum net density for medium density development of 35 units per hectare as per policy 3.6.5. And the purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment application is to change the zoning of the proposed subject lots from shopping center commercial special exception 4 or C4-4 to shopping center commercial special exception C4-X to recognize medium to high density residential uses in addition to highway commercial uses. A context map is provided on page 13 of the agenda. I will also note that the original notice for the public meeting indicated that the application is initiated by the municipality, which is an error by the planning department. It is actually indicated by the applicant on behalf of the numbered company 2241497 Ontario Limited. Specifically, the proposed amendments would look at a medium to high density residential development permitted as an additional use and developed in accordance with a maximum residential density of 46 units per net hectare, permitting residential development in the form of apartment buildings and residential uses in the upper stories of non-residential use buildings, where standalone residential buildings will be located to the rear of the commercial buildings facing Ottawa Street and limited to a maximum of 4 stories. With regards to the zoning bylaw amendment revisions, the applicant is requesting that the C4-4 zone add the following additional provisions. Residential uses permitted as additional uses in the form of an apartment building mid-rise in accordance with the R4 zone, and dwelling units or units in the form of apartments in the upper stories of a non-residential building. The applicant is also seeking relief from the maximum height provisions from 15 meters, maximum density to 46 units per hectare, and a minimum setback from Ottawa Street of 60 meters for the commercial unit. In addition, the minimum required rear yard associated with apartment building has been requested for 26 meters. On On page 14 of the agenda, there is a description of the subject lands, which I will provide briefly now. So the lot is approximately 2.74 hectares with 170 meters of frontage on Ottawa Street. It is presently the site of a commercial shopping center known commonly as the Almont Mall, with a total gross floor area of 5,128 square meters. There are presently 2 commercial tenants, the Value, which occupy a total floor area of 1,505 square meters. The remainder of the commercial units are vacant, and parking is available at the front of the building, accessible through an entrance from Ottawa Street. Generally, adjacent land uses are highway, commercial, and residential uses. To the north, the subject property also backs onto a row of bungalow townhouses in the Mill Run subdivision. The proposed redevelopment would result in the mixed-use development on the subject lands, with commercial units fronting closer to Ottawa Street and a medium to high-density residential apartment units to the rear of the property. Phase construction is proposed, with the commercial uses at the first phase, followed by construction of the 2 apartment buildings in a later phase. Parking will be provided. There is proposed 68 retail spots and 174 residential spots. I will also note that the applicant has been asked to demonstrate servicing capacity for the proposed density exists, which the planning department is still waiting to receive for review. A concept plan is available on page 23 of the agenda, as well as a cross-section on page 24 and a shadow study on page 25. The applicant has also submitted a set of architectural renderings, which are available at request from the planning department and will be appended to a future staff report to council. I will be moving on to the public comments received as part of this application. So there are a few comments that have been appended to this agenda. Additionally, there are a number of other submissions received following the finalization of the agenda, which I will also read through. So the first set of comments are received from Anna Barr from 342 Honeybourne Street, and states the following. Dear Maggie Yen, my name is Anna Barr and I've lived in Mississippi Mills all my life. I grew up in Pakenham and moved to Almont when I bought my own home 3 years ago. I live, work, and volunteer in the community, and I am a very proud resident of Mississippi Mills. I saved my whole working life for a down payment to purchase my first home. I bought during phase 2 of the Neil Court Homes Mill Run neighborhood on Honeybourne Street, and I was thrilled to live in a street named after my great-grandfather. I'm writing because I am concerned about the proposed amendment to the Municipality of Mississippi Mills Community Official Plan and Zoning Bylaw number 11-83. Specifically, I disagree with the proposal of a site-specific amendment to the highway commercial policies to recognize medium to high-density residential uses with a maximum net density of 46 units per hectare to permit a 124-unit, 4-story apartment building. A major draw of the lot I purchased was that I would never have neighbors behind my house. The privacy of my backyard was an important consideration and is what drew me to this property in particular. I was not informed about the plan for 4 apartment buildings on Honeybourne Street before I bought my home, which is disappointing because traffic speed and parking is already a problem on our street. However, the Honeybourne Street apartment buildings do not affect my specific property nearly as much as this proposed new building on Ottawa Street would. A 4-story apartment building would allow neighbors to look down directly into my backyard and windows. This is not fair to the homeowners on Honeybourne Street who purchased their homes within the last 4 years, believing the area behind their houses would remain private. I worry that a 4-story apartment building directly behind my house would reduce my property value for resale. This is critical because I will probably be selling my home if this apartment building is built. I also hope you consider why commercial businesses have not been thriving in the current building behind my home, where the Pet Value and Rexall are now. Rather than completely amending the zoning bylaw, why not investigate the rental fees and experiences of business owners in the mall? What could be done to draw other businesses there? For example, it would make much more sense to have the beer store and LCBO in those empty commercial spaces. The current LCBO location is actually quite dangerous. We need more family restaurants. Has that option been explored? Building a 4-story apartment building there would just be such a waste of a perfectly fine, like-new building. I can't imagine an argument that justifies wasting materials and resources in the current environmental crisis. I sincerely hope that every other option has been exhausted before you resort to knocking down the building. Finally, it makes much more sense to have the commercial zoning at the entrance of a town. I think of similar communities like Arnprior, Carleton Place, and Perth, which all have commercial businesses at the outskirts of the urban center. If you consider the future of our growing town, I wonder about a potential 4-lane expansion of March Road, similar to the Highway 7 expansion to Carleton Place in the future, and how much more commercial business opportunities that might create. An apartment building does not put money back into the municipal economy whatsoever. In fact, it sucks money out since it devalues these surrounding homes. I am extremely excited about this, and I want to thank you in advance for taking the time to read my concerns. I think this apartment building would be detrimental to current residents of Mississippi Mills, and I really hope you reconsider this zoning amendment. Sincerely, Anna Barr. The next set of comments are received from Mr. Gord Johnson, and Mr. Johnson stated the following. Good day. The meeting's scheduled for 25th August at 2 p.m. to discuss rezoning of the mall to allow apartment buildings to be built. Can you please forward the details of the virtual meeting, login details? And is there a limit on the number of people logging in? There is an extremely upset group opposed to this happening. There are 4 apartments on Honeybourne. When we bought these, were not planned. It was more townhome going to be built. But as it was explained, there had to be medium to high density housing made available in the subdivision. Having another larger apartment building being planned in front of us is totally unacceptable. Thank you, Gord Johnson. The following email was also sent by Mr. Gord Johnson, in response to one sent by the planning department. Thank you for your response. Yes, please forward the login details when we are closer. The main concerns are, is there available infrastructure, water, privacy, and noise, and property values affected for those homeowners, especially on Honeybourne between Concession 11 and Sadler Street, with 5 apartment buildings within eyesight. Is the proposed development apartments or condos, as it is showing a gated community in the renderings I have seen? The next set of comments were received from Larry and Jeannie Batchelor from 360 Honeybourne Street, and states the following. Dear Clerk of Mississippi Mills, it was of great horror when we read the newsletter sent to us about the proposed apartment replacing the existing mall on Ottawa Street. My Yield Corp home backs onto the mall, and although it is an eyesore, it is better than some 4-story apartment buildings that would now block out the sun and obliterate the ambience of Alma, besides increasing traffic behind us and onto Ottawa Street. Besides the fact we have to put up with the traffic at Tim Hortons. My wife and I moved to Alma from Stittsville, to get away from the buildings that were going to be built behind us. We had an idyllic situation in our backyard with large trees, and you could hear a pin drop. But all that was destroyed by the City of Ottawa greed in more housing development, which saw over 1,500 units built. We now see the same thing happening here in Alma. This is a town of peace, quiet, and laid-back living where everybody has time to say hello. But that will be destroyed with an ugly apartment building stuck on Ottawa Street when coming into Almont, and you are going to lose this. I know that the present owners of the mall are not doing anything to keep this mall clean and vibrant. The landlord has never tried to clean the back of the mall with trees and scrubs. They should be charging less rent, and this is why there are only 2 retail businesses located in it. We will now have to drive further to the pet store and Rexall. We will now be unable to sit on our deck without some tenants gawking at us. This is the scenario that we were getting away from in Stittsville, according to a former neighbor. The only way that we could enjoy our backyard along with our neighbors is that the developer provides screening along the existing fence, such as large trees, or do we have to fork out money and to plant large trees and add another 2 feet to the fence? If there is to be small retail shops in part of this development, how is this developer going to attract new business when the present owners cannot? Instead of an apartment complex, which there will be 4 going and now built on Honeybourne, it would be a great idea to focus on young people, such as the movie theater, nice family restaurants, specialty shops, as there are on Mill Street, and this would provide more employment for young people, and you wouldn't have to tear down the mall. Take a look at the demographics of this area, such as agriculture and an older generation of homeowners here on Honeybourne, especially owners backing onto the mall, and this is why we don't need another 4-story multiplex. Yours truly, Larry and Jeannie Batchelor. The next set of comments were submitted by Mr. Peter Moeller from 265 Gore Street and states the following. Dear Miss Yet, I would like to submit a comment regarding the proposed official plan amendment at the property, which is identified in the notice in the August 13th issue of the Canadian Gazette as Lot 16, Concession 10, being parts 1 to 4, 9 to 12 on RP 27R 8445, etc. I gather that this is the property which I identify as the one on which the Rexall drugstore is the anchor tenant. I believe it is important to know what the landowner wishes to do with this property. Do they intend to partially or completely demolish the existing building? Or do they intend to build the proposed new 124-unit, 4-story apartment building on open land at the site? My comment to this is that I would be against a total change to residential by total demolition or makeover of the existing building. But on the other hand, I would favor a development that uses a portion of the existing land and/or commercial space for residential use. My reason for this is that I favor the principle of mixed residential/commercial use on any lands in the Almont ward of Mississippi Mills. It would be necessary to develop a principle as to what the ratio of commercial to residential should be on any such property. For example, perhaps in order to abide with such a principle, the range of floor areas could be from 5 to 1 to 1 to 5. The area of the proposed amendment of around 10,000 square meters would require a commercial area in the range of 2,000 to 50,000 square feet on the same property. Within these limitations, I have no objection to permitting the proposed project to move forward. I hope my comments may be presented to the municipality in accordance with the rules for this. If there is a need for me to reformat it or send to a different address, I would appreciate being advised. Peter Moeller, 265 Gore Street in Almont. The next set of comments are submitted from Ms. Rhonda Goodfellow and states, Dear Maggie, if I could please be provided with the information to participate in the virtual public meeting schedule for Tuesday, August 25th, 2020 at 2 p.m. regarding the municipality of Mississippi Mills to consider a proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendments. Please note, as of last Friday, none of the homeowners the commercial property, received this notice. As of today, we still have not received the notice. We were advised by our neighbors across the street that received the notice early last week and provided us with a copy. I'm not sure of the procedure, but since there was basically no information in the notice, I expect that additional information will be provided at the meeting, such as when was this proposal brought to council? If there had been any idea that the commercial property was going to be changed into a residential complex, we would have considered another area. This will affect us selling our property and could cause a decrease in value. We are seriously considering moving if this plan goes forward. My understanding in reading this notice is that council has basically approved this proposal with the official decision to come. If this is true, why are residents not informed from the start? A home is a major investment, and knowing what could potentially be coming would have been a major factor. When is the final decision being made, and what is the cost to file a notice of appeal? Where is the draft proposed plan? How close is the building going to be to the homes? Where is the parking lot going to be located? Is any blasting going to be required? Although the back of the commercial mall is not a breathtaking view, we all knew what we were purchasing, which did not include neighbors in the room. We will lose all privacy and any view of the skyline. How long would it take to build, as we've already had to deal with construction in a new development and would expect this to be between 18 to 24 months later? Is there a requirement for this number of rentals? There is one completed building on the street with a second building almost complete and a third building under construction with a possible fourth to be built. There is a 44-unit rental building to be constructed over in Riverfront Estates. There are numerous homes being built in various parts of the town. Has the town conducted a survey or have information confirming there is a need for all of these rentals? Or is the town expecting new residents to move to Almont? Will this building be geared to low income or a percentage of the units? How will this affect our property taxes? Why would you take down a commercial property? Does the town have no plans for commercial development in the future? Is this only going to be a residential town with no commercial stores to shop? We are clearly opposed to the plan. Is there an alternative with less units or height? Thank you. Signed, Rhonda Goodfellow. The next set of comments were provided following the completion of the background report. The first of these comments is submitted by Miss Brenda Ada of 391 Honeybourne Street in Elmont. It states the following. We strongly object to the construction of more apartment buildings being constructed at this location. There are already 4 apartment buildings under construction on Honeybourne Street, and with these additional units, our enjoyment of our property will be diminished and our property values decreased. Currently, there is excess traffic at the corner of Sadler and Honeybourne Street, with people using the intersection to access the village center. In addition, the traffic uses this intersection without slowing down, signaling if they are turning, excessive speed, and U-turns back onto Ottawa Street. More units will increase this problem. As residents, we have been under a watering ban since July 24, 2020, and an increased population density will have a negative effect on the entire Mill Run subdivision. One of our few pastimes is gardening, and this summer we have been prohibited from beautifying our property in neighborhood. It appears to be a total waste of resources to repurpose the mall when economic development would be a better solution on the site. We need more shopping and restaurant choices, and the current location of the LCBO and Pure Star are prohibitive. With the current number of units in the Mill Run subdivision and the ongoing construction of more residential units, together with the 4 apartment buildings, we already have a high-density area, and adding this many more rental units is not a smart growth strategy. While there is a designated park area in Mill Run, it has not been developed and is vacant lot full of weeds. In our conversations with our neighbors, we have found not one person who accepts this proposal. We do not want to see these units built, and if this project is completed, the east end of Elmont will become a slum in 10 years. Signed, David and Brenda Ida. The next comment is also from Miss Brenda Ida as a response to a follow-up sent by the Planning Department. Dear Maggie, another point to bring to the meeting is the situation regarding healthcare. We moved to Elmont in July of 2018 and have yet to find a local doctor. We're now on a wait list and maybe we'll have a doctor before winter. All the materials provided to us indicate that there is sufficient healthcare, which is not the case. With the 4 new apartment buildings on Honeybourne, plus the existing construction of new homes in Elmont, make the search for a doctor more than difficult. And if more apartments are constructed on Ottawa Street, many people will not have access to family physicians for an extended period of time. Signed, Brenda and David Ida. The next comment is from Mr. Brian Booth and states the following. Dear Miss Yett, I am writing to express my opposition to the official plan and zoning bylaw amendments proposed for 430 Ottawa Street, application Z-12-20/OPA 26. Like many of my neighbors in the Neil Corp subdivision, I've been disappointed to witness several apartment buildings being built on Honeybourne Street over the past year. Now to learn that another high-density building is being planned to replace the retail mall at 430 Ottawa Street is totally mind-boggling. Does the town not take into account the quality of life for its existing residents? Specifically, shouldn't it put a freeze on the construction of new homes and apartment buildings until it is able to provide an adequate water supply to its current citizens? I moved to Elmont last fall, and as a new homeowner, I was unhappy to learn of a water ban this summer, which I understand is now an annual event. Our taxes here are significant, and had I known of the ongoing water shortfalls, along with the construction of so many apartment buildings on my doorstep, I would not have purchased a home here due to the probable impact on my property's resale value. Elmont has a reputation for being an engaged little town with interesting shops and restaurants. How does adding yet another apartment building benefit that? To tear down a mall that is still in relatively good condition seems extremely wasteful and environmentally unfriendly. Every effort should be made to work with the mall owners to attract new businesses to this location, which in turn would generate revenue for the town. With this current direction, it feels as if Elmont is on its way to losing its charm and becoming just another bedroom community. I hope you will reconsider this zoning amendment. Thank you. Signed, Brian Booth. I will also note that we received an email from Ms. Claudette Borque, but the email was blank and no attachments attached to it. The next comments are from Ms. Joanne Dorian and Mr. Jeff Barfoot, and states the following. Dear Sir/Madam, we are residents of the Mill Run subdivision located to the north of the proposed 4-story, 125-unit apartment building located at the site of the current mall on Ottawa Street. We would like to take this opportunity to voice our objection to the zoning amendment proposal. The will allow for a greater population density within the sector to allow for the increased population that will result from such an apartment building. Our objection is based on the following. 1. In this current pandemic climate, I believe it unwise from a public health perspective to increase the incidence of persons living in close contact with each other when they are not immediate family. I believe the current dictates from the public health department support this position. 2. We in Almont are currently under a water conservation order. This order was acquired due to insufficient water supply due to the current drought conditions. We believe it is reasonable to expect that such conservation requirements will be repeated in years to come, and a 125-unit apartment building would only add to the already overburdened water supply system. 3. Currently, there is insufficient park space within the immediate community to meet the needs of the current population. Council has already approved 53 new homes in the next phase of the development, and an equal or greater number in the phases to follow that. The addition of 125 units will cause an intolerable access to park space. 4. Currently, there are 450 homes with an additional 53 under construction, with an additional 53 approved, and an additional 53 or more planned for the development. A drive around will show that most homes have 2 cars, so for the sake of argument, approximately 1,000 vehicles. 125 units would increase the population by approximately 250 persons and add an additional 150 cars. This will cause just the traffic problems that residents have come here to escape. 5. Allowing a 125-unit building of rental units will result in 221 rental units in one block. Currently, the area is predominantly homeowners who have a stake in the community they are building. As we know, rental apartments change tenants with relative frequency, which typically result in the residents of buildings not having an interest in the community that they are joining and creating. I believe property values will suffer as a result of this proposed change. Thank you for your time and attention to this submission. Respectfully submitted, Joanne Dorian and Jeff Bradford of 80 Horton Street in Almont, Ontario. The next comments are submitted from Mr. J. Castellano and Penny Louise Fennell. Ms. Penny Louise Fennell requested additional information, asking, I missed the background on this. Can you forward the proposed amendment for me to read? Thanks. XOXOXOXO Penny. And that was a response to an email sent from Mr. J. Castellano of 712 McCabe Street in Almont. And Mr. Castellano's email states the following. Dear Ms. Yet, after reading the complete background report, official plan and zoning bylaw amendment OPA 26 and Z-12-20, I feel I need to put forward my concerns concerning this application. My partner and I moved into Mill Run, Newport, a year ago, and we were surprised that we did not receive any official letter from the municipality concerning this proposed amendment. During the past year, I have already seen the construction of 2 apartment buildings and the beginning of a 3rd. I'm concerned that the current infrastructure, both water and sewer, which seems already at its limits, will not support any additional residential construction in this area. I'm also concerned that the applicant has not been required to make a formal presentation to the public. A meeting that will provide the specific details of the application from both the applicant's point of view and from our municipal government officials. A meeting that would provide all residents of Almont an opportunity for a normal Q&A session with both the applicant and officials from the appropriate municipal departments. Due to the ongoing pandemic, I submit that this application for amendment be delayed until a proper public meeting is able to be planned and scheduled in a safe manner. Sincerely, Mr. Castellano of 712 McCabe Street in Almont. The next comment is sent from Ms. Nancy Clare and states the following. As per our phone conversation this morning, we are planning to be on the Zoom call in regards to the meeting tomorrow for the rezoning application. We would like to submit the following questions. 1, how many apartment buildings are currently on Ottawa Street? 2, if this is approved, Where will there be future sites for commercial development in this community? 3, how many hectares are there in the plan? 4, why not reface the existing structure for commercial use? 5, what will the rental rate be per unit? 6, if approved, all parking should be facing the Ottawa Street side. Our address is 356 Honeybourne Street in Almont. Thank you, Peter and Nancy Claire. The next comment is from Mr. Brian Dumouchel and Peggy Dumouchel of 344 Honeybourne Street, and states the following. The following is a submission in opposition to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application Z1220/OPA26 430 Ottawa Street. This specifically applies to the zoning application for change from shopping center commercial special exception 4 C4-4 to shopping center commercial special exception C4-X. First of all, we would like to voice our concern to the manner in which we have learned of the meeting to discuss the proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendments. Very short notice and lack of details compounded with a virtual meeting scheduled midday during the summer during a pandemic gives the impression that efforts are definitely in place to discourage input that could alter the current course of events. As the owners of a town home directly behind the current commercial property, we feel the potential construction of the proposed 124-unit, 4-story apartment building will dramatically impact our current living situation. We specifically chose our location because of the privacy it afforded. There was never any indication that the mall design/structure would be under review, although there are indications that this has been in place for some time. In addition to seriously compromising our privacy, considering the height of a 4-story apartment building and the reduced setback from our property line, the proposed structure would completely alter sunlight and overall daylight available to our single-level dwelling, particularly during the winter months, not to mention reducing the value of our property and other units on the street. The current site plan makes it appear that a lot of attention has been invested in curb appeal for the new proposal, while the impact on the residential area behind has received no consideration. Since moving in almost 3 years ago, our immediate neighborhood is changing drastically, with 2 apartment buildings already built on Honeybourne Street, with more on the way, along with this current proposal. We have received no information regarding improvements to infrastructure, traffic flow, etc., to deal with the higher population density in a small area, not to mention the fact that we are currently facing a water shortage that has resulted in a watering ban for the last 2 summers. It is for these reasons that we strongly urge the municipality to not amend the current official plan and to not alter the current zoning bylaw number 11-83. With the uncertainty surrounding this pandemic, the inability to attend this meeting in person or to adequately view the proposals and learn about the details of this plan, we feel a virtual public meeting will not sufficiently allow us to address our concerns and a fair process to be achieved. Please acknowledge receipt of our submission. Signed, Brian Dumouchel and Margaret Peggy Dumouchel of 344 Honeybourne Street in Almont. The next comments are received from Vicky and Fred Brewer of 113 Horton Street in Almont. It states the following. Dear Sir or Madam, replanting file numbers OPA26 and Z-1220 and apply to portions of the lands described as Lot 16, Concession 10, being parts 1 to 4, 9 to 12 on Registered Plan 27R88445, Part 1 on 27R8990. Our understanding is that the purpose and intent is a site-specific amendment to the highway commercial policies to recognize medium to high-density residential uses with a maximum net density of 46 units per hectare to permit a 124-unit 4-story apartment building. We are vehemently opposed to placing a residential unit in a highway commercial area. This will be the addition of yet another apartment building in the east end of the town of Almont, where 2 already exist, with a 3rd under construction and a 4th to be built on the corner of Concession 11 and Honeybourne Street. Our concerns are 1, more strain on an already precarious water supply within the town of Almont. 2, the placement of the proposed apartment building on the highway will cause traffic congestion and problems as tenants enter and exit by car or attempt to cross 4 lanes of walking. 3, the proposed 4-story apartment building will block light from existing townhomes on Honeybourne Street. 4, the ongoing maintenance of apartment buildings by building management. The buildings on Honeybourne Street are being built quickly with flaws, example, buckled siding. Trees less than a year old around apartment building on Honeybourne are already dying, and town easement between sod and sidewalk is not maintained. Please reconsider this proposed amendment and vote against it. Sincerely, Vicky and Fred Brewer, 113 Horton Street, Almont, Ontario. The next comment is from Ms. Helene Gilhooly, and states, "Hello, Ms. Yat. I am writing for further information with respect to the item F.2, Official Plan Amendment 26 and Bylaw Amendment Z-12-20. In reading the application, I have some questions which may be resolved by obtaining some information that is referred to in the report, specifically confirmation by the applicant of the servicing capacity for the proposed density, the retail and residential market demand survey prepared by the applicant, transportation impact study prepared by the applicant. Also, can you please advise about alternate ways to participate in the meeting on Tuesday? I have watched some of the YouTube recordings of previous meetings that are available on your website and cannot understand anything that is being said. Your assistance with these items would be most appreciated. Thank you, Helene Gilhooly." Ms. Gilhooly followed up following her review of the documents that were requested and states, "Hi Maggie, thank you for providing these reports. They were very helpful. The following are my comments regarding this application. Please advise if they need to be delivered in a different format. I read the package of information provided in this application as well as the responses received from individuals in the community. I agree with a number of points raised. I do not believe the applicant has presented a persuasive case to proceed in the manner outlined. The apartment complex proposed does not seem to present an attractive or practical option for the intended occupants, nor is it in harmony with the surrounding community, particularly as a 4-story structure. There is not a shortage of available land in the area that would substantiate the need for a dense infill of this property, which is more appropriately designated as commercial, and again, commercial use would be in conformity with the existing uses in this area. The market demand survey prepared for the applicant does not make a convincing argument to develop this land for residential purposes. In assessing the demand for rental units, there is only reference to one rental building in the immediate area. It is my understanding that a total of 4 apartment buildings are scheduled to be built on Honeybourne Street. 1 completed, 1 nearing completion, another started, and 1 additional future building. As a side note, when I purchased my property in 2019, I was told that there were to be 2 apartment buildings on Honeybourne. Taking these additional units into account would certainly have an impact on the perceived demand for rental living space. One of the takeaways from this survey is that with the growth in the community, there will in fact be more demand for retail space, and the Ottawa Street corridor, as it is currently zoned, is well positioned for this future growth. Another suggestion mentioned in the options for the existing space related to use by medical services, which would also make more sense than residential given the demographics of the community provided in the survey. With these considerations in mind, I would not be in support of the application as presented. Signed, Helene Gilhooly, owner/resident, Mill Run Subdivision. The next comments are submitted by Ms. Rhonda Goodfellow in response to a reply from the planning department to her original email. It states the following. Hi Maggie, thanks for the email and the proposed plan. We live directly behind the current commercial plaza. It should be under the estate of Sandra Honeck, courtesy of Ken Kumple at 354 Honeybourne Street. We received the water and property taxes, but not this notice. My understanding from a real estate agent is that they were aware of this back in March, so I'm not sure how they knew about this if the proposal was only received by council in June. Will the housing study be available to the public or the market study by the applicant? I would like to add a few more comments since seeing the plan. It appears the residential buildings will be moved much closer to the existing townhomes in comparison to the existing building layout. This brings tenants closer to our homes and less privacy, as well as having 82 parking spaces immediately behind us. I realize this is not the final draft, but there appears to many trees outlining the property, I assume for privacy. And although there appears to be enough space between the tree and the fence, it does concern us on what type of tree, how tall it will be, and if there will be enough space between the trees. Sun is limited in the winters to begin with, and with a 4-story apartment building, it will block a majority of the sun in the winter and will affect summertime as well. Looking in the future, the growth of trees will also add additional shade in the backyards. There is also concern of the tree roots and possible damage it can do to the fence and having roots come to the surface on our side. None of the owners have trees in the rear yards, and no one wants to be cleaning up leaves and branches. Currently, there are 9 lights on the building which have little to no effect on our homes. However, having these proposed buildings closer and the parking lot lights will make the back of our homes too bright at night. How does the town plan to address the infrastructure with increased requirements for water/sewer? Is the town considering a traffic light at the entrance? It is a dangerous area with cars pulling in and out of this lot as well as the grocery store area. I would suggest not having shrubs or trees at the entrance to the property as they will impede entering and exiting safely. During peak times now, there is a lineup of cars that goes onto Sadler. There could be a bigger traffic issue if tenants use the existing right of access. A note regarding the loading areas for the commercial buildings. If the developer doesn't plan to allow a truck and trailer, then there's no issue. Otherwise, they have not provided enough space to maneuver a truck and trailer at the back of the buildings. A 5-ton truck will have enough space. We would really appreciate the council taking all of the comments under consideration. I know the council must be impartial, but I'm hoping they can understand the impacts this will have and what a major disruption this will be. As noted previously, we are opposed to the project, but no development is a requirement for the future and would ask the council not to consider the 46 units per hectare, but keep it at 35 units per hectare. A 3-story building would seem to be more reasonable and in line with the existing buildings in town, as well as the recently built buildings on Honeybourne. If you can send me the details to participate in the virtual public meeting, thank you. Signed, Rhonda Goodfellow. The next comment was received from Ms. Tracy Julian and states the following. Maggie Yett, I have just become aware of the rezoning application to 430 Ottawa Street. I would like to have my objection included in the public meeting documents. My objection, as usual, is regarding affordable housing. In our community official plan, we have a goal to have 25% of all new development to be affordable, as defined by the provincial policy statement. There is no information provided by the developer as to what the rents will be for these units, and so therefore there is no way to hold them accountable to provide 25% of them as affordable. You have provided the figures of $709 for a 1-bedroom, $951 for a 2-bedroom, and $1,190 for a 3-bedroom. Out of the 124 units, there is no way to know how many will be affordable without any quantifiable data. This is my objection. Thank you. Tracy Julian, Mississippi Mills resident. The next comment was received from Mr. Steve Maynard and states the following. Good morning, Maggie. The concept plan for 430 Ottawa Street includes two 4-story apartment buildings. Does this mean that the developer is applying for twice the occupancy than has been applied for? Thanks for your help, Steve. The next comment was received from Mr. Peter Moore in response to a reply sent from the planning department to his previous email that was appended to the agenda. It states, Hi Maggie, thank you so much for your message and for the concept plan. I'm a bit stunned to learn that the site will be so changed and totally redone from scratch. Even so, I do not actually have any objections with what I see, but I would very much want to see more detail as plans are developed. I presume that will come out as their plans progress if they opt to go ahead. Will any more public meetings be held as the plans progress? Looking forward to hearing more from you, signed Peter. The next comment was also from Mr. Peter Moeller and states, Hi Maggie, I think I've been caught off guard. I am sure you've had your meeting today and I missed the opportunity to add one more comment to the mix. It is that I believe that there is altogether too little space provided at the rear of the development as a buffer behind the existing residences. I imagine those residents will not be happy with the very narrow verge heretofore proposed. Anyway, perhaps there will be opportunities for this point of view to be made before things get cast in stone. I hope your meeting went well today. Cheers, Peter. The next comment was received from Sal Piro and states the following. Please be advised that as a resident of Mill Run here in Vermont, I, along with several residents of this neighborhood, are opposed to the proposed amendment. We do not need another apartment building here. There is already an increase in traffic, and with another 2 apartment buildings near completion, the traffic will most certainly become an issue. If the owner of 420 Ottawa is struggling to find tenants in the vacant retail units, perhaps Mississippi Mills can work with the owner and provide some incentives to prospective businesses looking to open here in Elmont. As the Mill Run project grows, there most certainly will be a need for new businesses and amenities, and that location will be a perfect spot. Thank you for reading this email. Regards, Sal Piro, 710 McCabe Street in Elmont. The next comment is from Mr. Perry Richardson and states the following. Dear Maggie, I received a notice in the mail recently about a meeting considering an official plan and zoning bylaw amendments change for the mall property at the corner of Sadler Drive and Ottawa Street. I actually heard about it from a neighbor as my letter went to the wrong address, and my neighbor got it to me a few days later. The said letter is very short on detail. To start, I would like a link to the virtual meeting, please, so I can express my opposition to this plan. If I am unable to attend because of work, consider this letter my official expression of opposition to this plan to tear down the existing mall and put in a 124-unit apartment buildings. First, why so many apartment buildings within 500 meters? We have 4 apartment buildings being built or being built east of use, and now 124 units right behind us. Why can't apartment buildings be spread around town versus all cluttered in this tight space? What infrastructure upgrades will be made to accommodate the extra automobile traffic? Honeybourne Street has now become a through street. With more people living here, I expect the traffic situation to deteriorate. Second, we have water bans each summer, and I am told we are often stressed for water, despite being surrounded by water. How can you keep adding apartments without adding water capacity? In this case, it will add an additional 124 units of water use. What water upgrades are planned? If we are always having water bans, the public needs to know so we can change the landscaping from grass to some kind of arid landscaping. In our 3-year-old neighborhood, the lawns look awful because of water bans. Third, the current mall at least means there is no one back there, so we have some privacy, which is one reason we picked this location. While not a terribly attractive view, we also get some skyline as it is not that high, and it tends to be quiet. 4 stories is too high for apartment buildings, as it will block out the sun in the morning and we will have less horizon and much less privacy. Fourth, with parking directly behind us, we will have more noise as people access cars, especially in the morning. If this project has to go ahead, I think 2 stories will be high enough for the apartment buildings. Provision will need to be made for noise reduction and will need to be landscaped in such a way that is satisfactory to the current neighbors and provides some privacy. I am definitely opposed to this project as it currently stands. Best regards, Perry Richardson of 348 Honeybourne Street in Elmont. The next comment is from Mr. John A. Turner and states the following. To Municipality of Mississippi Mills Council. This letter is a written objection to proposed amendments to the Community Official Plan and Zoning Bylaw to allow for the construction of a 4-story apartment building. My wife and I moved to Elmont over 6 years ago with the assumption that this bedroom community would offer us peace and tranquility for our remaining years. We recognize that communities do change somewhat as time goes by. It is our understanding that the only developments will be residential homes and some low-density housing and appropriate business to serve our community. Our community has been very active with the construction of many homes and the expansion of the property owned by Neil Corp. We have been subjected to constant noise, heavy truck traffic, and some traffic congestion around Tim Hortons. Many vehicles use Sadler Drive and Honeybourne as a shortcut to Maud Street and other areas in Elmont. One new 3-story apartment building has been constructed in their area, and we understand there will be a total of 24 units on Honeybourne. Your proposal to build a 4-story apartment building will only add more noise and traffic. Furthermore, the 16-meter building will tower above our Mill Run community, increase night lighting, which we believe is in violation of the town's illumination bylaw. The 124-unit building may also require parking for over 200 cars. We assume that Elmont will continue to expand, and therefore retaining the small indoor mall would be in the best interest of the resident. A change in the bylaws can encourage the construction of more large complexes, destroying Mississippi Mills' natural and architectural beauty, high quality of life, and respect for its heritage and environment. In view of the above, we do not support this change in the bylaws. Best regards, Helen and John Turner, 134 Sadler Drive. The next comment is sent from Mr. Duncan Abbott, Mr. Joseph Abbott, and Ms. Evelyn Wheeler. addressed to the municipality of Mississippi Mills and states, we submit that the proposed official plan and zoning amendments are not within good planning principles. The subject lands are located in a commercial neighborhood. Commercial zoning allows for increased vehicular and pedestrian traffic, as well as increased noise and night illumination. That is why residential zoning and commercial zonings are kept separate. The fact that the present commercial use of the subject property has not been fully occupied by the commercial tenants is due to poor management of the shopping mall. It does not mean that the growing municipality of Mississippi Mills will not need that commercial space in the future. Turning an area already designated as a commercial into residential zone lacks foresight. There is land to be developed for residential use in other areas of the municipality. However, commercial space is limited. These subject lands are prime commercial space and need to be available for commercial use. A 124-unit residential apartment building would disrupt the flow of the commercial area on Ottawa Street. We submit that the residential apartment buildings should be constructed in existing residential neighborhoods and not be located so as to break up an existing commercial strip. We therefore submit that this proposed amendment to the Mississippi Mills Community Official Plan and Zoning Bylaw number 11-83 should not be passed. Signed, Duncan Abbott, Joseph Abbott, and Evelyn Mueller. The next comment is submitted by Mr. Jean Jurlick and states, Dear Maggie, we don't support the proposed zoning amendment for high-density housing because it will use water we don't have, create traffic we don't want, and cause longer lineups for everything we need. Almonte is a small town in the Ottawa region with a proud history dating back to the 1870s. Almonte's attraction is that it is a friendly, tight-knit community with family-owned restaurants and businesses. However, it is not without some issues such as a shortage of family doctors and periodic water rations, just to mention two. Although development is necessary, unchecked development can be detrimental to the quality of life for all residents, old and new. If allowed to go ahead without proper study and careful consideration, Almonte will lose its small town charm forever. Signed, John and Debbie Gill. Finally, I have one last set of comments from Novatech Engineers, Planners, and Landscape Architects, the applicant on behalf of the owner of the property. And it states the following. This project has been advanced on behalf of Elm Developments, operating managers of the Almonte Mall. Elm Developments have over 30 years of experience in the development industry in both the commercial and residential sectors. The Almonte Mall is one of several properties managed by Elm Developments in Ontario and Ontario. Currently, the Almonte Mall is occupied by only 2 commercial tenants, leaving the vast majority of the commercial shopping center vacant. This has been the case for a number of years, which has resulted in the yearly revenue loss and onerous expenses. Efforts to attract new tenants to the mall have had little success, in large part due to an unsuitable mall format that does not attract tenants, resulting in portions of the building being closed off in order to restrict access to unleased space. Both residents and visitors to Almonte would recognize and agree that the mall has been commercially unsuccessful and represents an undesirable focal point along a key gateway to the community. The proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendments are being advanced on the strength of a market study that supports the rejuvenation of the site with new forms of development. The amendments introduce new policies and zoning standards that would permit medium to higher density residential development on the subject lands, in addition to maintaining the highway commercial uses that are currently permitted. The proposed amendments have been structured around a proposed concept plan that illustrates the principle of development that would see the lands redeveloped over time to address local needs for higher density / alternative housing in Almonte and rejuvenation of commercial activity through a redesign for new commercial building forms. The concept demonstrates a future vision for the site that is in keeping with important planning principles entrenched in the community official plan. In keeping with the policies regarding the Ottawa Street Corridor, the proposed concept plan recognizes the significance of the Ottawa Street Corridor as an important community gateway by bringing commercial uses closer to the street, thereby enhancing the gateway streetscape. The proposed commercial use of the site has also been designed to replace the vast parking area and largely vacant, underutilized mall space with a visually pleasing, street-oriented, scale-appropriate commercial development that improves the visual image of the commercial corridor and supports the community gateway policies. The concept also introduces two 4-story residential apartment buildings located towards the rear of the site. A landscaped area near the center of the site provides a delineation and spatial separation between the commercial and residential uses on the property. The introduction of residential uses is intended to create a mixed-use development that supports residential intensification and infill on an underutilized parcel of service land, provides opportunity for more balanced supply of housing in the community, and is supportive of pedestrian access and integration with commercial uses, furthering the objectives towards building complete communities. The concept plan submitted with the application has been transformed into perspective drawings that are intended to illustrate views from both the front and rear of the site. These images depict build-out of the site and illustrate important benefits to be gained through redevelopment. 1. Improved commercial exposure along frontage of the property in favor of an empty parking lot and vacant mall will enhance the importance of the commercial gateway to the community. This redesign will contribute towards beautification and delineation of a more vibrant commercial gateway, referred to from perspective. 2. Residential development at the rear of the property will support the creation of complete communities through mixed use. An apartment building is considered an appropriate transitional use between existing lower density residential uses to the north in Mill Run and the highway commercial uses to the south along Ottawa Street. The introduction of new residential uses, complete with appropriate setbacks, landscaping, and attractive building facade, will mitigate land use compatibility impacts with adjacent existing communities and improve what is currently viewed as the rear of an unsightly, largely vacant, inefficient use of land, refer to rear perspective. 3. The mixed-use nature of the development will contribute towards a more complete community. The proposed redevelopment supports community development at a strategic location in the community through redevelopment of an otherwise inefficient and underutilized site. This change will be managed through a carefully designed site having regard to principles of good planning and urban design. The proposed amendments are necessary to implement a vision that would enhance the mall property. It is considered that the proposed redevelopment will service to enhance the community gateway corridor along Ottawa Street, while at the same time providing opportunity for additional housing for a growing municipality. Finally, the concept reflects a carefully considered design that benefits the greater community interest. And attached to these comments were a front perspective and rear perspective aerial image, which is available from the planning department upon request.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself there. Thanks very much, Ms. Yett, for the comments that you shared with us. If there's nothing further, I'll ask the clerk if there are any comments on the YouTube channel to share.
No further comments have been received on YouTube.
Okay, thank you for that. I will just remind anyone who's listening, any members of the public, that anyone with comments or anyone with further comments, you're welcome to send those to the town, and the easiest way to do that is by emailing town@mississippimills.ca. And with that, that concludes the public meetings. There are no special reports on this agenda. There are no bylaws. There is the confirmatory bylaw. I'm looking for a mover and seconder for the confirmatory bylaw, confirming the proceedings of this afternoon.
Councillor Dalgety.
Thank you, Councillor Dalgety.
Deputy Mayor Manelli.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Manelli. All then in favor of passing the confirmatory bylaw, starting with Councillor Dalgety,
Yes.
Councillor Ferguson,
Yes.
Councillor Maiden,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Manelli.
Yes.
Thank you. And a mover and seconder for adjournment.
Councillor Maiden?
Thank you, Councillor Maiden. And seconder?
Ferguson.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. All in favor of adjournment, starting with Councillor Dalgety, Councillor Ferguson,
Yes.
Councillor Maiden,
Yes.
and Deputy Mayor Manelli.
Yes.
Thank you very much, folks. We are adjourned.
You. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Maggie.
Good job, Maggie.
Yeah, good job, Maggie.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everyone.